Leonardo da Vinci once said, "Beauty perishes in life, but it is immortal in art." Today on Novelty, we talk all things creativity, aesthetically pleasing everything. My name is Aina Raizakaya, and this is your favorite science and innovation show, Novelty. Come and hang out with me as I explore the Department of Architecture at Namibia University of Science and Technology. Today on Novelty, I am so excited. It's such a pleasure to be chatting with a brilliant mind. His name is Professor Yaku Wasopal. Thank you very much for joining us on Novelty. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm very well, thank you. Just a bit hot.
Yes.
Summer is back with the vengeance.
It is definitely there with a vengeance. Even the wind is so hot as it blows. But what can we do? I guess we are, experiencing the effects of climate change.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, be it in your profession or in academics.
Well, thank you. So I'm really a practicing architect. So I've been practicing here in Namibia for more than 30 years.
Okay. Wow.
And I've always been, well, I got a PhD when I was like 29.
Wow.
But never used it academically. So I went back to practice because that's what I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And then I was instrumental in setting up the School of Architecture from outside. So I assisted our council, the Namibia Council for Architects and Quantity Surveys, to set up the curriculum and get the school going.
Wow.
And then, about 5 years or so ago, I decided that it was time for me to also get involved here. So I resigned from council, my responsibilities there, and I joined them here. I'm a full-time lecturer, but I'm still allowed to practice. So I'm trying to do both, but it's actually quite difficult.
It's always hard finding your balance, but nonetheless, walk us through the design process as an architect.
Look, I think it's important to understand that every architect has a different method. Okay. So I think the biggest trick for an architect is getting that creative spark. It's the beginning of the project. That's the trickiest, but I think that's what we're trying to teach here at university. For me, it's very specific. So my mum was a painter and a sculptor.
Yeah.
And as kids, we used to go accompany my dad, collecting huge soapstone blocks from the veld.
Yeah.
Taking them back to her studio. And then I would always watch her. She would put the stone on a pedestal and then study it from all different angles.
Oh, wow.
And then you see, where there are weaknesses in a stone, or maybe a crack, or a suggestion of fall. And then she would take clay and make a little maquette, like a mini model of what she thinks of doing with this.
Yeah.
And then that then serves as the model for the eventual sculpture. I do the same in architecture. So site, I think, is critical. Context is critical. And I always start with little sketches. So I study the site, and it's pretty much the same process. And it's sort of like thumbnail sketches. And that sort of gives the first idea, and it helps you to think creatively.
Yeah.
And that's normally how I work. So it's always from the three-dimensional back to two-dimensional, never the other way around.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what would you say are the most important qualities that every architect should have? Those that are already within the profession and those that are upcoming?
Again, I think architecture is a hugely wide profession. So here in Namibia and maybe in Southern Africa, it is still pretty much, focused on the creative side of things and producing buildings. But if you go to Europe, you'll see that, it's almost like a basic education for all sorts of different professions, creative professions. And I think we're seeing it here as well now, because we are producing more architects than the industry can actually absorb. So you find people being very creative in how they develop their professions. But I think first and foremost, you need to have a passion for architecture.
Yeah.
So that's critical. So if you don't have that, you will not survive the process. It is a very tough one. You need to be creative, obviously, so that's very important as well. But you also need an inquiring mind.
Okay.
We need to be inquisitive by nature. We want to take things apart, and put them back together again. You need to be able to think outside the box.
Okay.
So that's what architects do. We do not necessarily reinvent the wheel. We study the works of other architects and other designers, and then we reinterpret that in a unique way for specific projects. Hardworking, confidence, more hardworking.
Hardworking is the ingredient to everything.
No, but it's a crazy profession, so you have to be dedicated to it because we work. I still work 12-hour days, so it is a very demanding profession, but also very satisfying.
Yeah. Where do you draw your inspiration from in your profession? Is there somebody who was before you that really inspired you to be the architect that you are today?
To a very large extent, yes. I think all young designers should have role models.
Yeah.
And there are so many out in the world. Living in the age that we are, it's easy to find their works. Although I think it's not good enough just to see pictures. You need to read up about it. You need to understand the thinking processes behind the design and why they do tackle things a certain way.
Yeah.
And I certainly have had architects locally and internationally that I looked up to and still look up to.
Is it possible that, let's say, you didn't follow the whole process, the whole formation process, and then let's say this building is now completed, it's in use, other architect might see the mistake that you've made, but us as ordinary people won't see. We'll just say, oh, what a building. Is it possible for an architect to maybe hide behind creativity to cover up mistakes? Or maybe not?
I don't think so. I think, the creative process and the process of putting something on paper and designing a building, getting to the end product is actually, as I said, it is one process, back and forth. But even when you're on site, when you're busy constructing, being where we are, clients can open a glossy magazine or see something on the internet. There's not a lot that we can access in Namibia.
Okay.
So you have to be creative in that sense as well. But to answer your question, I think, I cannot really say that there's been one building that I'm totally 100% happy with that I've ever done. I think you always go back and you see.
I don't like that, yeah.
Better. But I think at the same time there's also a realization that, it is not just the architect that creates this building. It is, I think perhaps the most important role player is the client.
Yes.
A client that encourages an architect to be creative and allows the architect to be creative, I think is worth a lot. But then it's also a whole team.
Yeah.
And apart from all the building professionals, it's also the contractor. So in the end, I think if the building works for what it was intended, not many people will perhaps, as you've correctly mentioned, see the small things. But if a building is successful and it serves the purpose that it was meant for, and I'm happy with it as from an architectural point, then I'm super.
Then you're sorted. All right. But what do you think about the architecture in the
Um, Look, I think there's no denying that the fact that we are um, in a developing situation from an economic point of view has an impact. I think as a profession we need to be a lot more proactive and make people aware of the role of architects. I think the problem in Namibia is that people are not fully aware and they don't utilize architects the way you would find it happening, say, in Europe. So I don't know the exact figures, but I would guess around probably close to 85% of residences are not designed by architects.
Oh, okay.
So the legislation surrounding the protection of architects allows an architectural technician or draftsperson to actually also design a building up to 500 square meters. Okay. But apart from that, it's also what I often find is that people are not. It's like buying an artwork. So many people would pursue that with passion because that's really what they want. Say it's in the house.
Yeah.
They have a very specific idea of what they want. Others just do not understand why they have to pay such a lot of money for someone to design it.
Oh, okay.
So I think in Namibia we are at a very sort of beginning stage. I think we suffer because of also because of our relative isolation. I also think that as professionals we are obligated to do continued professional development. Okay, so that's something that you have to earn certain credits every year in order to stay registered. Now, although we don't have a formal system in Namibia, we are gearing ourselves towards that. But my feeling about that is, which I'm also registered in South Africa, is that it's basically focused more on the technical side of things, whereas there's never a sort of, how can I call it, an update of your design skills or further exploration.
Okay, skill development maybe.
So yes, it looks at technical aspects and all sorts of other things, but trying to upscale someone's design skills is not that easy.
Okay. And what is the Department of Architect right now doing? What are you guys involved in some projects? Tell us more of the work of NAST when it comes to architect.
So although all staff at the department are encouraged to practice, it's very difficult because they have to balance, teaching, research, and practice. So it's almost impossible. But we are, I think, doing extremely well in terms of community outreach. So the school is very, very well situated within the community it serves. And that's what I mean just now, that architects are not about just individuals designing beautifully sculptural buildings. It's also about serving the community.
Yes.
And so architects are now getting a lot more involved in the informal sector, in the housing sector, especially here in Namibia. And I think our department is playing a huge role.
Yeah.
It's community development, so outreach programs to communities. We've done projects in Torobus, all over the place, in Gebalis. And I think the fact that we also have a planning section within our department obviously contributes to that positioning. We will never be involved in individual projects as we would like commercial projects, as I would, for example, in my practice. Okay, because this is all about teaching.
Yes.
Okay. So there are we are trying our utmost to get, our students to also do projects in liaison with, say, schools of architecture in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
So we recently had a group of students here from Botswana, and we did a vertical studio together. And part of our, I think, responsibilities would be to serve the community. I mean, it's
Yes.
I think it's almost the primary function. And our specific circumstances and our economic realities make it essential for architects to be involved in these processes in a creative way. So adding that creative element to community projects.
All right. Thank you so much for chatting to me. I actually learned a lot in this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on Novelty, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. It was my honor. Thank you.
We will be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, my name is Wasila Pabu. I'm a lecturer here at NUST in the architecture department. And I'm here to talk about today a project that was undertaken by the staff and students here at NUST in collaboration with the City of Windhoek, looking at providing a solution to the housing crisis that we're currently experiencing in the country. In 2019, the City of Windhoek approached us looking for a design of a dwelling that they could use in the settlements to relocate victims of flooding. The house needed to be something that could be easily built in terms of time, in terms of cost. It would have the possibility of being dismantled, being rebuilt elsewhere as the need arises, and it should have also been low cost. So we came up with the structure, as you see before us, in collaboration with the steel manufacturing company called Metallum. We designed a steel framed structure which sits on columns that is not placed on the ground. This due to the fact that the structure could be dismantled, could be moved around. The steel itself is designed such that the members can be transported on the back of a bakkie. We wouldn't need to hire expensive trucks or look for alternative methods of transportation. And this entire structure was put up by students in 3 hours. So it is really a structure that can be built by anyone without any sort of pre-skills requirement. No one needs to know anything about bricklaying, about construction. It all comes in a kit and it gets bolted all together. What we are looking at doing with this structure now is looking at how do we infill the structure. We were lucky to have been sponsored by Polycare, a company that makes these precast composite blocks. So they assisted us with donating some of the panels, and we were experimenting with how can we infill this structure using materials at hand. So again, with the communities and the informal areas, we're not prescribing that it has to be brick or it has to be cement or it has to be cladding. Whatever material they have on hand, they are able to use to infill the structure with whatever skill level that they have. The structure itself is designed in 2 parts. It has a main living area and this part on the outside, which is the service core, which we envision would have connections for sewage, for water. And this part of the structure could then be accessible by the wider community and giving the inhabitants their own private space. It can accommodate between 4 to 6 people. And this structure would cost, hopefully, the last time we got it costed, it came to around 30,000 Namibia dollars, which is quite affordable and can be then accessed by a wide range of people. The current low-cost housing options that are currently available cost in the region of 250 to 600,000, which is not accessible to the large variety of people that actually need the housing. So hopefully We are hoping to complete the prototype, to develop the strategy further with the city, and to actually get pilot projects up in the settlements where we can investigate, people actually living, building these dwellings, to upgrade the environments around them. Chat about some of the emerging technologies in the architectural field today. I think firstly is artificial intelligence, or AI. I think it's a big talking point in general all over, especially in architecture, where architects are now using AI technology to generate multiple concepts sort of quicker than could have been done by hand or by previous technologies. So that is a big thing now, where designs can be optimized, many design options can be tested, quite quickly and quite efficiently by the use of artificial intelligence. Another thing connected to AI is robotics and automation. We are starting to see 3D printing of building components, building products, even robotics that now can build on a construction site. So that is becoming it's quite new in the field. It's something that we're looking at. Rapid prototyping of various materials, technologies, and even buildings being built via robotics. One of the other things that we're looking at is something specific to our industry. It's called BIM technology. It's a type of building information modeling where all the consultants within the realm of construction, from architects, engineers, project managers, are using one system, one process, one model to capture all the information from design to documentation, construction, and management, all in one space. So we are moving away from paper, sort of designs based on paper, and information sharing via email and sort of technologies like that, into where everything is built into one model and information is built together as the project unfolds in that shared process. Another big thing in the architectural field is this issue about technology and sustainability in the built environment. Here in Namibia, again, things like solar powered, using the use of solar panels for energy, for electricity, water efficiency, things where we need to maximize our natural environment within our buildings, so that we're not spending electricity on heating, on cooling. We can make use of our sun that we have here to heat the building, to heat the water. Looking at carbon footprints of buildings, where we source materials from, so that our buildings can become more local and more sustainable, engaging the local communities and the economy. Another aspect in this field, again, things like virtual reality. It's not very new, but it's something that hasn't yet been explored fully, especially here in Namibia, creating virtual walkthroughs of the buildings that we design, getting people to enter into our buildings in this virtual space. And alongside virtual reality comes augmented reality, where buildings start incorporating the virtual aspect. So the facades become something immersive, something when you look at, you're in another world. Again, that's something new that's happening around the globe, and it's something yet to reach this market. I think that's my top list of new technologies in this field.
Today it's all about the formation, structure, and building. That is what the NASDA Architecture Department has to offer. It has been such a pleasure bringing you creativity and everything in between. My name is Aina Raizakoya. Until next time, it's all my love and all my light.